Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. Justin Garrison, the developer evangelist. That's correct, right?
Advocate, DevRel. I do stuff.
From AWS and writes an interesting blog and does all sorts of interesting things. So take it away.
Sweet. Let me find. Nope, that's not the button. I was playing with this yesterday, and there's the screen share.
There we go. I'll leave. I'll be watching. And you can
sweet. There we go. So I was looking for the original email when I heard about Talos, because I was really excited about it when I saw it in, I think it was 2019, and it was announced on Hacker News, and Andrew just sent a post and just like, hey, I'm working on this Talos Linux thing. And at the time I was building on-prem bare metal clusters, and also had some side projects of my own of just like automating OS installations for Kubernetes and how to get those things to work together, and wanting to make them as sort of this integrated step of like, well, I was using CoreOS at the time, which was kind of the best thing we had. It was the container native, no package manager. How do we get this thing in place? And I was like, okay, well, what if CoreOS was a little bit closer to Kubernetes? And so I was working on it as just like a side project, and then Talos came out. I was like, this is the thing that I wanted. This is what I was wanting to build without any of the skills to do it. And so I was really excited when it came out. And ever since 2019, I was talking to Andrew, and I've been a big fan of what Talos has done and Sidera Labs has been doing. And so when I saw Taloscon, I was like, I gotta come, I gotta talk to people and meet people in the community that are working with Talos and using it as I have been for a long time in various capacities. So, but this talk isn't necessarily about that. This talk was a derivative of a blog post that I wrote, which was really just about how the goal of infrastructure that we've seen for a very long time as infrastructure engineers, as developers, as whatever you want to call yourself, all of these things that we've been told throughout our lives and the goals were kind of a lie. And I'm here to tell you, I'm sorry that the things you've been working towards, or the things that you might have been working towards, are probably a lie if you are taking them blindly. If you are just aiming at a dartboard and saying, that's the thing I want, everyone tells me it has to be automated, it has to be immutable, and it has to be declarative, and that's what you're going for, without a rhyme or reason, then you're living a lie, just as I was. And I'm here to help you understand when these things come into play and when they're important. And so I have I'll tab over here. So this is my little picture. I love whiteboarding. It's just fun for me to do, but this is where we always think the goal is, right? This black dot in the middle of the target, that is our automated, immutable, and declarative infrastructure that we say, if we can make it there, then our jobs are better. No, there's no more pages, there's no more downtime. That is the actual goal, and that is completely not the case. And so let's start with this declarative thing of, what does it mean for something to be declarative? And standard Kubernetes spec is where a lot of people think like, oh yeah, that's declarative. Of course it is, because I have a YAML file. It's all just data that I send it somewhere, and then it becomes the thing. And I remember the very first time that I ran Kubernetes, ran a deployment, and I said kube control run nginx, and I did kube control get pods right after, and it said they were running, and I said, you know what, I think something's broken, because this is impossible. This is absolutely impossible that the thing I just ran the line above is now saying that it's ready and available the line below. And so I started digging. I'm like, well, what did I break? What was the thing that isn't actually working here? Because somewhere in here it's telling me this is working. I'm like, it can't be. I just did a run command. And sure enough, it actually worked that fast. And I was like, okay, wait, now I have to know how it got here, and how we made this in this state. And having this declarative API of just create the thing and everything else figures it out for you, was really like, okay, that's kind of amazing. And that really falls into what I put in here, which is like a not great line, but it's this declarative axis here, if I can spell. So everything on this side of the line is me as a user consuming a declarative thing, and over here I'm a builder and I actually create the thing that is declarative. And if we look here, containers are also they're immutable, but they have this kind of declarative thing where it is step by step. We are running these things, but it can figure out using a graph to say like, oh, this comes first, and then I need this one, and these are the layers, and how they like at some point the thing that comes out of it is like a declarative, a consumable that's immutable. I'm like, okay, well, I kind of understand why this is used, but this isn't really declarative in this case, but it creates something that can be used in a declarative system. And that was where this kind of importance of like how they tied together. But the next thing I kind of thought about more and more as I was like, okay, well, as a user of this declarative thing, like who actually cares? Like who cares if the system is declarative? Why is that important? What is the thing that's or the people, like what job role cares that something is declarative? And from everything that I've as in multiple positions, declarative, the platform team cares about declarative. The platform team, the people that have users that are using their system, that's where the platform team really cares. And they're like, if it's not declarative, I don't want it. And they say like declarative things is how I know the thing that someone told me to do, I can make that happen. I do that stuff over here. And that's the platform team. They really care about this declarative thing. My first role as a sysadmin, everything had to be automated. And if you've been as a sysadmin for any amount of time, you've probably seen this meme, which is like everything has to be automated. And if I do something more than twice manually, I'm a bad sysadmin. And that was just like always the kind of, as in my role, it was like, well, why'd you do it that way? I'm like, well, I used the console. I clicked in the GUI. And like, why would you ever do that? And my way of automating things always came down to, I had to do it once in the GUI. If there was a GUI available, I had to understand how to do it in a GUI. Then I would do it manually using the API or command line tool. I'd say, okay, now let me get rid of the visual side of it, and let me see if I understand what the API is doing, what the actual steps are. And then I would move to actually, okay, now let me automate some of those steps, and let me see how to make this actually work in a way that is repeatable. And I always did it at least 3 times to figure out how that process works. But everyone in DevOps and sysadmins were always like, oh, you just have to automate it. Just make sure it's automated. It has to be. I was like, well, what does that mean? Like, why am I automating? Well, that's not the goal. The goal isn't the automation. The goal is to eventually save time. But if you've seen this meme, you've probably seen this one too. XKCD, where it's like, in theory, I automate it and then the work goes away. It's just like, I don't have to do that anymore, right? Like it's gone. Great. But in reality, you wrote more code that you now maintain. Like that is the thing that you actually did is you're writing more code. And writing more code is never the immediate solution to things. It might be sometimes automation or obvious. Say like, oh yeah, the code's the thing to do. But in that case, we end up with this kind of automation curve here that goes down, but it never goes back to 0. There's always this point where it's like, okay, automation has that curve of effort, and there's a steep learning curve up front, but somewhere in here is where you actually ship it. Like you start with that ramp up, you start automating, you have to learn the system to automate it, and then you ship it. And there's still this like tail here that's, you're still working on it. You're still doing more work because you have to train people. You have to make sure that all the like edge cases are caught, and you have to do all this stuff. But then as the system changes underneath you, like you're still just maintaining this thing to like keep this automation going. And so there's this moment here where automation, it does make sense, but it kind of has a long tail. You have to make sure that long term that automation made sense to write. This initial effort has to pay off. And if you do too much effort initially and then the thing goes away, you just wasted a bunch of time. And the people who care about automation is usually sysadmins, but also now basically DevOps. This is like the DevOps engineers, the like automation experts. That's where a lot of companies just kind of fell into like DevOps is automation. It's the Jenkins admins. It's the people that wrote the scripts that get the code over to the thing. And that's where DevOps kind of falls. So we've got this platform engineering. They really care about this declarative thing. DevOps engineers care about the automated thing. What about, who cares for DevOps? And who cares about immutable? Like the immutable thing is like nothing should change, right? Once you ship it into production, it's there. And that never actually is going to have any, like we're doing, and Talos has done a great job of these areas, right? Like where it's a read-only file system. You have a Talos config to actually like declare what you want in the system and how you want it configured, and all that automation to get like, here's this YAML, like I just need to like ship it to this API and it's going to work for me. And your immutability is kind of this horizontal plane here, where everything below the line is mutable. You can still change those things, and everything above the line is immutable. And the people who really care about this, I got one more slide. That's my last slide. The people who care, any guesses? People have been leaving great comments. SRE, right? Like the people who care about the production uptime, the people who get paged, the people who say like, hey, I don't want you changing things in production because I'm going to get woken up. That's the SRE folks. They're the ones that are like, hey, don't change things, right? You need to be above the line, read only, because I don't want to get woken up. And granted, they can wake up the DevOps people and they can wake up the platform engineering people. But at the end of the day, this used to just all be sysadmin. And we've broken it down to have these sort of specifics of how we care about things. And I'm just going to label my automated. Those are these three axes. And in some cases, right, like if you work in an area that actually, in my opinion, like the true DevOps, right, like developers are also the operators, this is all their concern, and they get to design this with whatever flexibility and tunables they want for how declarative the system is, how automated the system is, and how immutable the system is. But the actual goal here, if we're looking at this really critically, and I lost my pen. Hold on. No, lost everything. There we go. So instead of saying like this middle target is where we were actually going, which is again what I was always taught. I was like, if you're a good sysadmin, this is what you're doing. The actual goal falls somewhere over here. This is kind of where like the best outcome is for this stuff. There's something that you're going to use long enough so it pays off for automation. It's above a line of control that you can have control over. It's immutable, and it's declarative enough that people can use it. And this is the only section that actually benefits from this. If I am going towards that target in the middle, I'm missing a lot of benefits of where the automation happens, and I might go too low into this place of like, actually, I need to change things in production. They're not completely immutable. And I've seen a bunch of comments about like devs should be on call for work. Absolutely, devs should be on call for their workloads. But I know a lot of places where that's not the case, where devs don't have enough control. You can't page someone if they can't fix it. Don't just send them the pager and say, well, dev, you wrote it, you're in control now. If they don't have control over these other systems, if they don't have any ability to write to them or automate them themselves or build the platforms that they need, then you can't just give them a pager. You can't just say, here you go, devs, you're responsible. And that's actually one of the fascinating things. I've been at Amazon now for 3 years. And in my opinion, Amazon actually has a really good, what I would consider purist DevOps, where the service teams, the developers are the people who they build their own platforms, they run and are responsible for their pagers and their uptime. And they didn't do that by building a centralized platform. There is no centralized thing at Amazon to deploy any service. The centralized thing is AWS. AWS builds on AWS, and we pick and choose all these different services, and we say, hey, we're going to take that one and build on it. But if you look at other companies and other situations like Borg at Google, Borg is the way that they deploy everything. And that is the area. They are a platform team that centralizes that control, and they have ownership over that. But if they need to change, if a developer team needs to change how Borg runs or change something about the underlying platform, they don't have that control. So you can't necessarily wake up the developer and say, hey, your responsibility, go ahead. You have to give someone that's on call the responsibility and the ability, the authentication to make those changes. Real quick demo here. Live demo of what these things mean. And I'm going to start with my favorite declarative tool of all time. And it helps me be declarative with everything that I want to do. Puppet, yeah. Use a lot of Puppet. No, it's the touch command. Completely declarative, right? Touch my file. There you go. The declarative command as a user of the touch command, as the user of someone that wants a file written to disk, this is the most declarative way that I can do it. And of course, if I look at it, I have a file. And that's what I need. I need a file in place. And of course, I can put stuff in my file. And it works. Everything is as I would expect, right? But the touch command is my declarative interface to this file on disk. The lie that we often don't forget about is all of the stuff behind the touch command. Like where did all that come from? Right? Like, what is this? Right? There's a ton of stuff that touch command did. As a declarative user, I was just like, no, like I just needed a file. And over here is touch is doing its thing. It's like, well, you declared it. I'm on the touch is on the other side of the line, talking to the kernel and the file system and libc and all these other things to say, hey, I need this file to exist. How are we going to get there? How are we going to make that happen? And so touch isn't a declarative tool at all. As a user, I can declare it. And that's where platform user, Kubernetes user, I can declare this is the thing I need. Now, let's make sure that that gets in place. Let's automate it, right? Like I now have my platform built on touch, and everyone can come and create a file. And so we're going to automate it and call it my files platform. And this is it. This is my automation. This is the entirety of it. And if I sent a PR with this as my request, someone give me it looks good to me, right? Like a LGMT, like this is pretty safe. Like I can understand it. There's no comments. Like might want some documentation in there. But in most cases, you see this come in as a PR, and you're like, yeah, it looks good. You're gonna create some files, right? Based on what exactly, ship it. We're good. So we're gonna ship it. Boom, it's in production now. It's in my folder, and then someone's gonna use it. They don't know how to use it. I didn't write docs for it. I didn't give any help output. There's all this stuff that they don't know what's going on. Like sequence. No, I want files. What's this SEQ? That is, some error happened and I don't understand what it is because I didn't write it. I don't understand what's under the hood. And as a user of the automation, it's going to break. And that's where that long tail of hey, once you ship it in production, that little dot, you have that hump still. Like, oh, actually, I need help output. I need to make sure things are happening. I need to just verify some stuff. So in a lot of cases, what we might do is we're going to give some like sane defaults, right? So we're going to say how many, and let's say this would be 1, which would be the whatever option someone gives. And we'll say 5 is like our sane defaults. And we just need to change this to how many? right? So now I should be able to, as a user of this automation, I get no output, but I got my 5 files, and that's what I actually wanted as a user. And we can improve it. We can make some changes here to kind of do some stuff. But really, what we probably want to do is like have some safeguards of like API limits, some things that people are going to do that are going to overrun our file system by creating too many files or doing it too quickly. And so the thing that happens with, I guarantee you, if you ever written any automation in your life, here's the thing that happens to all of them. That is there's always a sleep. There's always a wait. There's always a thing that happens in any automation at some point. And that's your API limits, right? It's, well, you can't overrun the file system, so we have to sleep. And now I can still run files, and it still, is reasonably fast, and we're still fine with it. But I get into this other weird state with automation, which is always a lie. When someone comes in and they're like 10,000, that's what I need. It's absolutely I have to have this for my system. But now what happened? We're in an unknown state. How far did it get? That's just like, you get in this automation issue of, hey, everything has to be automated, but the safeguards we have to put in place to make sure not only the automation happens correctly, but where did I get? I got 64 files out of 10,000. How do I clean that up? How do I guarantee that I can roll that back? How do I guarantee that that's the state that someone actually needed the system to be in? And that, of course, is a huge problem with automation, and usually a risk that is that longest tail of maintenance. Yeah, remove rm-rf. Well, that's like, let's sequence 64. All right, okay, good. We only deleted the files I didn't care about now. And but that's the automation of like, everything has to be automated. And it's like, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of maintenance that people don't talk about. And so the final thing is, let's say we now need to make this stuff immutable. There you go. Immutable, right? Like, this is the thing we create is now going to be immutable when we create it. Right? Everyone, we ship it. Like, PR, here comes. We need immutable infrastructure in production. No one should be able to change it. Production ready. I have no tests. That looks good. Sweet. I have a bunch of read-only files. This is exactly what I wanted. Let's go into one. Permission denied. Perfect. Ship it, right? How the hell did that work? Right? I have read-only files. One's gone. Like, I just deleted it. Right? And these are those edge cases that you don't think about. And this is the below the line moment, right? Like, everything under here, what happened? Why was that mutable? Why is it that I can still change that? I can take out any of them. Like, what is going on here? And the actual thing is, we don't control the states underneath us. We don't control the immutability of the layer below us. Now, my folder has no right. Right? So now, there we go. That's the piece you don't often control. And that's the piece that shifts a lot of times, where people say, oh, everything's immutable. But if I have a rack of servers and I'm running Talos on them, absolutely my file systems are read-only. But someone comes in and pulls out a drive, unplugs power, pulls out RAM, like, that's mutable. Like, I can't change those layers below me that I don't necessarily control. And so this goal that people often have of, I have to hit this target, or like this this is where I'm heading. This is the thing I need. Everything should be automated, declarative, and immutable, is the lie. And we keep telling people it's all going to be fine as long as you get to that point. And I'm just here. I just want to make sure that you know which sections and which pieces of your infrastructure and your applications are the important pieces to automate, the ones to make immutable and the ones to make it declarative. And if you're an SRE or DevOps or platform engineer, it all depends on who your users are, what your applications are, and how much you control. And to the point earlier, absolutely, we should wake people up if they're getting paged, but only if they have the ability to fix the problem, to understand the problem, and have control of the layers necessary, whichever ways, to make sure that they can do those things. And I don't mean to dash any dreams. I'm just saying, like, I woke up one day and realized this was a lie, and realized that so many things I was working to I was like, I just need to automate more things. And if I automated, I'd have more time. And over time, I just ended up maintaining more things. And as the platform changed underneath me, and my line of immutability changed, maybe from here to kind of up here, like I couldn't control things underneath that anymore. Then I was like, oh, now like the stuff in here that I made immutable doesn't matter anymore because I can't control it. And that's where we just have to make sure that all these things shift over time, right? Like this platform, your users over here are eventually going to shift over here. And how do you make up for that? Because we can hit the target when it stands still, but it never stands still. And over time, it's going to move, and it's going to be over here or over here as people are working on stuff, and systems are people, and software is made up of people working on things. And so there is no target. There is no golden path. There isn't a thing that you can say, I've finished. But there are things that you can do to make sure that you're working on the right things. And absolutely, in the comments, the best code is no code. If you can solve a problem by talking to a person or putting a process in place, that is better than writing code. Because even though the person might leave, might change roles, you might change roles, whatever, you did not give a burden to someone else in the future. You said, here you go, you maintained it because that's how it works. That is the end of the talk. I don't think I even have another slide. Nope. So thanks everyone for coming, for all the questions and comments. This is great.
That was awesome. That was super good. As a guy who used to be a sysadmin before all these things came up, it really resonated. I used to have to write some automations and then kind of learn. It's like automation's dangerous if you automate too much because, exactly what you were talking about. Super.
I have had plenty of stories of the automation I wrote that took down production because it was no safeguards. And that's where you put the sleep in, right? Like, I don't want to take down production again. I'm going to have it sleep. And then I still run the command again. I'm like, oh, actually, I need a longer sleep.
Right. Yeah. Super cool. Great. Well, that was, people can hang out here and pepper Justin with questions if they've got more. Otherwise, we've got Milos from Docker talking about getting Talos running on the Rackster Rock 5B, which will be interesting as well. So,
great.
People are free to hang out here if Milos has any more time. I don't know, but I could jump off over to that section. Thanks a lot, Justin.
Cool. Thank you.